What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Talkin Football podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be doing a basic recap of what has happened over the last week in the football world. There's been a lot going on. We have a lot of different stuff to talk about from a lot of different areas, which is always nice. The big ticket stuff being the rule changes that we've seen and eligibility for the Olympics, which I'm going to talk about. Also, another couple of other updates to share, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a little bit different than what I normally do. It's probably gonna be a little bit longer than my normal videos, but that's what we're gonna roll today. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's hit the intro and get into it. All right, so coming into this week, the biggest question was whether or not the Tush push would be still legal. And the NFL answered that question. The owners voted on it, and very close, but it's still legal. Okay, so the Tush push, it was a 22-10 vote, 22 in favor of removing it. You need at least 24, so that which would be 75% of NFL teams saying no, can't do with this. Obviously, the teams that said no, a majority of the NFC said no. All of the NFC East, other than obviously the Eagles, said no. There were a couple teams that said yes. Obviously, the 10 teams off the top of my head that I remember, I believe, obviously the Eagles said yes. The Ravens said yes, like it should stay. The Patriots were a team that said it should stay. And there were a couple of other teams as well. So it was close, though, down to two teams pretty much that said, look, this is a play that should not be allowed. And they really were pushing that. And a lot of people were very skeptical on it. And I think that's a fair point to make. Here's the arguments on both sides. One, it's not football. That's not true. It is. It is football. Football is based on that. If you want to say it's more rugby based, that's fine. But then you can also say the exact same thing about a QB sneak, even when someone's not pushing the quarterback. It is still technically a rugby play. What if there's a scrum for like a fumble? That is not that is a rugby play as well. So that argument's not great in my opinion because rugby and football are very similar in many different ways. So I don't like that argument personally. The major argument was that it was an injury concern, but the data isn't there to back that up. And the one time I can point it out is that the Giants, when they ran it, I think 2 years ago against Seattle on Monday night, they ran a tush push, and it didn't work. It was like 4th and inches, and they didn't get it, which was pretty embarrassing. But they didn't get it, and they two players hurt on the play. It was John Michael Schmitz, the center, and I want to say Daniel Bellinger. Come to think of it now, who got hurt on that play. So the tight end, who was, I don't know if he was doing the pushing or if he was on the line. But still, the idea still presents itself that there is a history, even if it's limited, there is a history of injuries. But when you look at the Eagles, who have been doing it for however many years at this point with Sirianni, it has worked. And I don't think there's been many injuries, if any, to begin with. I think maybe one injury from it, but I think it was just part of the play. It's not something that's going to directly injure your offensive line or your offensive players. So I think that argument, there is some data to back it up, but I don't think it's super strong. So I think that's just the way the dice fell with that one. I don't think it's necessarily a thing of like, oh, this is a play that is going to cause a lot of injuries in the future. It's not really that way. And especially with the way the NFL is super concerned with concussions. This is not a play that's going to cause concussions. It's not a lot of head to head. It's more of like a push, and it's tug of war pretty much. It's not really like a head-to-head collision kind of play. So I think that argument, not great, but there is some data to back it up. I think even as a Giants fan, I think that this is probably the right call here. Just find a way to stop it. The Bucks found a way to stop it a couple of times in the wild card. Was it 2 years ago now at this point? Yeah, I guess it was 2 seasons ago. And when you have Vita Vea up front, you should be able to, right? And now they just signed a Desmond Watson as an undrafted free agent, so that should help them even more. But there's got to be a way to stop it. I mean, there has to be. And I don't know what the recipe is to stop that, but there's got to be some kind of way to prevent this play from being as successful as it has been. I mean, and it's hard to kind of jump the snap. We saw Frankie Louvu do that in the NFC Championship game where he did it over and over and over again. And it was almost like that's like really the only way you can think of stopping it because the Philly, how they do it, and you can they did it better with Jason Kelsey rather than Cam Jurgens. No disrespect on Jurgens, he's a great player, but I think it was more successful with Kelsey. Kelsey, his stance, he was almost over the ball. He was almost offsides, and he went under because the way you do it, you start under here, and then you kind of like push almost in and up. It's almost like a push like this, and that's what the goal is. Because if Kelsey isn't down, then there's no point in the push. If you're running a normal QB sneak, the center doesn't need to get down. The center needs to get down here because it's a little it opens up the B gap a little bit better, and the whoever's pushing, whether for the Eagles, Goddard, Calcaterra, Barkley, Gainwell, whoever it may be, those players are pushing and they need to find the gap, and the center going down is the way that happens. Jurgens wasn't so great at it, and I think that's why you saw a little bit this past season where the Eagles would the play started, it was like, oh, they might not get it, and then they pushed through because it wasn't as successful, but still they were able to get it, and they've been unbelievably good at it for super long now. I mean, it's a guaranteed first down. It's frustrating as hell to watch, but it's just the way they designed it, and kudos to them for being able to have a play that has not been stopped really consistently at this point. It's really hard to do that. So overall, to wrap things up, tush push still legal, which stinks, but as a Giants fan, but overall, I think it's the right call here in the NFL. They had some other rule changes as well that we're going to talk about right now, and the main ones being the Lions with their proposal from a couple weeks ago, and then the onside kick rule has been changed for the second time in as many seasons. So let's talk about the playoff seeding. First, the Lions at the beginning of when you can propose the rule changes, they said, look, we need to rethink about the seeding. Not necessarily how the teams make the playoffs, but we need to rethink of the seeding process. In what way is it fair that a 13-4 team in minute or 14-3, they were 14-3 this year. In what way is a 14-3 team, like why are they in the wild card when after a 14-3 season against a team that won 10, 11 games? That overall doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think that's what the Lions were thinking about. They're like, why should Minnesota have to play on the road after a 14-win season? And I think that's a good argument, but I personally see both sides. I'll be honest. I'm more against it than for it personally. Win your division. It's not that hard. You just win your division. I mean, I think that's the big thing. If you're winning 14 games, you're not winning your division. That's a problem. I mean, I think that's an issue there. I mean, I can definitely see why you would want to. And this is not a rule that I'd be like, oh, this is bad for the sport. It's actually good for the sport because those good teams are going to get rewarded for their good play and the seeding doesn't change. So I think that part of it is okay. But I think at this point, the NFL doesn't really need this. If you win your division, you should be getting a home game, in my opinion. That's just the way it is because winning your division is harder than making the playoffs. I mean, because what is more impressive? Is it a 14-win team making the playoffs over like a 9-10 win team instead in the wild card, or a 9-8 team beating out an 8-9 team? It's like that. Those tight division races are close. Not going to discredit the 14-win record because that's impressive. But when you look at the divisions and you're like, well, wow, this division race came down to the wire. I think it'd be better for the NFL to keep those division winners and having home games instead of having wild card teams who would be wild card teams have home games. I think at this point right now, I'm okay with this rule change. They actually withdrew it. They didn't vote on this. And it is what it is. I think it's okay. Was this rule change the Lions trying to dodge the Vikings? I don't know. Maybe. I don't think that that's something that would necessarily have happened, considering that the Lions would have had a home game against them because they were the 1 seed and they beat Minnesota at home anyways. But again, we'll see how this kind of thing unfolds for the next few years. Other rule change was the onside kick rule. So this is, like I said, it's changed twice in the last 2 seasons. This past season, it was that teams could only do an onside kick if they were trailing and there was like 5 minutes left, I think it was. It was really dumb, in my opinion. I don't like this rule. I think you should be able to onside kick whenever you want because that's what makes football football. The spontaneity of it is what makes football enjoyable. I'm not a huge fan of just saying, "Oh no onside kicks," because it's a competitive disadvantage. That's the point, right? That is the point of football. There's no point of saying, "Oh, well, you know what? We're not going to do onside kicks because you're leading, and that's not fair to the losing team." That is stupid. Okay, it's dumb because you should be ready and prepared for anything that the other team is going to throw at you. The onside kick rule should not have changed in the first place. You should be able to onside kick whenever you want. And I mean, it is what it is, I guess, at this point. I just don't understand it. But let's get into what actually changed about it. So the onside kick rule now goes as follows. If you are trailing at any point, you can do an onside kick. I think that's a better rule. I think that's much better than it was last year. It is now at any time as long as you are trailing, and it is at the 34-yard line instead of the 35-yard line. Why, I don't understand. I don't know why that 1 yard is making that big of a difference, but I don't really get it. Maybe it's because now it's at any point. Now, if you don't get it, you're probably going to get it at like the 40 instead of like the 45 or whatever. So maybe that's what it is. I don't really get that anyways, but it is what it is there for the onside kick. But now they changed it. Last year it was trailing and within like 5 minutes, I think. Now it's trailing at any point. So you can even see it. Let's just say in the first quarter, touchdown, field goal, team about to kick off with a field goal, they can do an onside kick. But you have to declare it too, I believe. I think that's still a part of it, which I think is so dumb. Having to declare an onside kick is the dumbest decision, or is just the dumbest rule change ever. And I understand the new dynamic kickoff it's kind of dumb in my. I still think it's kind of stupid. That I understand. Oh, it's going to limit concussions. Okay, yeah, that's great and all, but that's not football. Okay, I mean, like having to declare an onside kick, having to do the dynamic kickoff, it's kind of frustrating to watch. But you know what? This is how the game has this is what the game has come to at this point. And now onside kicks, it's when you're trailing, and it's going to be at your 34-yard line. I believe that's what they said about that. So that is what the other rule changes are. Now, I don't think they made any other changes other than that at this point in time, but then again, I guess we'll see when the time comes. And another big update out of these owner meetings, it was the NFL players are now eligible for the Olympics in 2028 in LA. Now, for flag football, I should clarify, they're not going to be running track; they're going to be doing flag football. It's 5-on-5 flag football, which I think is interesting. Usually, I thought it would be 7-on-7, but NFL players are now eligible for the Olympics in 2028. And we already know MHJ Brown's not going to do it. He said that he has no interest in it. He's going to, because at this point it would be going on during camp and they don't want to do that. And that's fair. That's respectable, but it is what it is with that. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is that this is like other sports like the NHL, like MLB, not so much. I mean, I think baseball is coming to the Olympics, but the NFL is another league joining the NHL and the NBA that is allowing its players to join the Olympics. The MLB, I'm not sure what their plan is there. I know they have a different thing with the World Baseball Classic, which is always fun to watch. I don't know what their plan is there, but maybe they are. I'm not totally sure. Don't quote me on that, but this is a good step for the NFL because now your players are going to be able to represent their countries in the Olympics. Now, based on what I've seen, I think Kyler Murray is planning to represent South Korea. I'm pretty sure because he is mixed. I think that's what he's planning on doing. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I saw something that said that, or he was at least considering it. So I think that's something definitely to keep an eye on there, whether or not he plans to do that or not. Him and Kyle Hamilton are looking at doing that, which would be very cool, right? And now I just realized that Kyle Hamilton is planning to maybe do that, and this whole thing is this whole next part of my video is kind of changed a little bit, which is my fault. I probably should have planned for that a little bit better. But why not? Hypotheticals. Let's just do, if the NFL just had a flag football team, what would that possibly look like? So I think this looks like This looks very interesting for the NFL. I think right now you got to have Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Lamar, maybe if you want to do not Jalen, maybe if you want to do Jaden Daniels. Right now it's 5-on-5, so I have a quarterback, a running back, and 3 receivers. I think if you did Lamar and Saquon in that backfield, that would be filthy, in my opinion. And then my 3 receivers would be Neighbors, Chase, and Jefferson there for the U.S. Cool thing to do. If the NFL if those players were wanted to, if this was like a dream, I would probably make that the roster personally. Now you can argue, the one argument you can maybe make is St. Brown over Neighbors, only because of how shifty he is, and in flag football you do want that, right? You want a shifty player like Amon Ra, but I think with the deep threat and the LSU connection that they have and the chemistry that these 3 already have, I think it would make a lot of sense for them to go in this direction. I think this would be their best 5-on-5 offense personally. Maybe you can switch out Neighbors for maybe for Kittle, maybe for Kelsey. Maybe I don't know if Kelsey would fit the flag football kind of scheme, but I think Kittle would be cool to would be fun to watch there. So I think that's definitely something to look at. I think this is what I would prefer if I'm the US and I could choose who I wanted to choose. I would probably do those 5 personally. Defensively, it's slightly different. I would it's gonna be slightly different because it's defense. Defensively, I did 1 defensive lineman, 1 linebacker, and 3 DBs, 2 corners, and a safety. And now looking at this, I realized I made a mistake. Well, actually, you know what? Here, this isn't even necessarily for the U.S. This is just an NFL flag football team making an NFL flag team. So you can see I have Micah Parsons on the D line with Fred Warner behind him. And then I have Pat Surtain, Derek Stingley, and Kyle Hamilton back deep. I think Micah Parsons could honestly play the linebacker as well. I just wanted to have someone shifty like that who could drop back into coverage because he is that athletic. That is something that could definitely happen there. I think that Parsons and Warner are the best at their positions at this point in time. Maybe Myles Garrett over Parsons. I think Parsons is a little bit better, though. Fred Warner is obviously the best linebacker in the sport right now. And that is without a doubt at this point. There's no one better than him, in my opinion. I know this past season may have been a little bit different. He had a down year, but I still think he's great. Defensively, or not defensively, in the secondary, rather, I think Surtain and Stingley are the best 2 options if the NFL were to make a flag team, and then Kyle Hamilton back deep, because Surtain and Stingley are great in man-to-man situations, and Hamilton is an amazing zone guy. You can put Hamilton in the box as well if you were planning to do some kind of big blitz, if you wanted to send Parsons, Warner, and Hamilton and just have 2 guys deep. I mean, I don't know what the thought process behind that is, but that is definitely something to look at. You know, if the NFL were to make a flag team, what would that possibly look like? I think personally, I would make it look like this. I think there's nothing better to do here than that. I'm also planning to post this on Instagram, so make sure you check that out. And if you are like, hey, this player should be over this player, make sure you leave a comment on that. Be on the lookout for that. Also, speaking of Instagram, just in general, I'm trying to post there more, right? So in the meantime, make sure you're followed. It's at Talkin Football Pod, same username as it is on YouTube, at Talkin Football Pod. I'm trying to post there a little bit more, and maybe where I used to post a short here, now I might just make that an Instagram post on IG. So make sure you guys check out my Instagram. I'm trying to grow that a little bit more. Again, at Talkin Football Pod on Instagram. So let's move on to the next thing, and this part is something that it's not super long, but it is something that I do want to at least mention a little bit. Rookie contracts have gone way up recently, and I have no idea why. Maybe I'm making it up, but I mean, especially like maybe a couple of years ago, these contracts were not as much. I mean, Cam Ward got his rookie contract; he's getting $48 million. That seems a little bit much, in my opinion. I mean, I feel like 12 million a year I'm not saying he's not worth it at all, but I'm just saying I feel like that's way expensive. I feel like maybe 4 years ago, this was like in the 30s, mid 30s. Abdul Carter got his contract. He's at 4 for 45. I'm not really sure why it's so high. And again, I'm not saying he's not worth it, because getting a young player like Carter $10 million a year at that rate is good, but I'm just saying I feel like they've gone way up. Like I remember when Saquon Barkley got his contract with the Giants, he was like 4 for 32, and I know that was in 2018. That was 7 years ago, and the market has changed a lot since then. Obviously, quarterbacks are now getting 60 million instead of like 30, but it just feels like so much. I mean, maybe I'm tweaking here, but like I just don't understand why this I just don't get it. Why are they so expensive? I mean, Sanders got taken in the Shooter Sanders got taken in the 5th round. He's making 4 for 4. I mean, that's more than it used to be. I think. Like I feel like those players didn't used to not get that much. Maybe they did. Maybe I'm just tweaking out here, but I feel like they're a little bit higher than they used to be, like abnormally higher than they used to be. And I mean, it is what it is. I guess in terms that's like the third time I've said that. It's but I feel like it's like really a lot. And I mean, I understand because the Chiefs signed like a backup offensive tackle for 15 million, and I understand how the market inflation has happened in the NFL. But I mean, you really have to think about this. It has been a lot. This is a lot of money. 12 million a year is not something to sneeze at. I mean, he's getting 4 for 48. This is a guy like Josh Palmer is getting 3 for 36. I'm pretty sure from Buffalo. Like this is, or I think that's where he signed. Like this is a lot of money. I mean, and I'm not sure. I used to think that these players just had a set amount that they signed for, and that was it. It's not, and we've seen that with Shamar Stewart recently with the Bengals, and he's gotten a lot of money. He wants more money than he's getting offered by Cincy. I think they're lowballing him, and this is why I guess this is what the modern day is. Teams are going to overpay for rookies, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like it's not like the MLB where you have a certain amount of time before they just aren't on your team anymore. Like you draft a player and you have a deadline, and if you don't sign them before then you don't have the rights anymore. Then they go back to the draft or back to college or whatever they want to do. In the NFL, you have their rights. I don't know why you just don't give them what they want and just sign the contract. Like that's just what I would do. I mean, it's the way it is. Just sign the contract. Give them what they want. And I don't know. There's a couple still left to sign. I'm pretty sure there's a couple still left to sign. Yeah, there's a couple players that haven't signed yet. I don't think Jackson Dart has signed his contract yet. I know Stewart hasn't. A couple other players haven't. They're starting to trickle in a little bit more over the next few days as rookie minicamp is going on and all that stuff is happening. But I just wanted to make a note of this. I feel like the rookie contracts have gotten a lot higher, and maybe I'm wrong. Definitely leave a comment below if you think I'm wrong. I mean, I just feel like they've gotten so high recently, and like I don't really know why. I mean, I saw Abdul Carter signs his contract. I'm like, okay, maybe like 4 for 30. It's 4 for 45. I know that's like 7 million to 7 million. It's a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot in my opinion. Getting 10.25 a year is a lot. Next up, the NFL announced a new award, which I'm very happy about that it got released. The Protector of the Year Award, otherwise known as the Offensive Lineman of the Year Award. I think this is so cool that they did Protector of the Year. Like that is such a cool nickname, or such a cool name for an award. Being an offensive lineman and just getting named Protector of the Year, that is so tough. Like that is really, really cool. I'm really happy that they announced this, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, Tristan Wirfs deserves he deserves like 5 years of this award already." But I like this because it's going to come down to the wire, and this is going to be something that a lot of people are going to talk about. It's going to be like let's just say 1 year, like I'm just going to use Tristan Wirfs for an example. Tristan Wirfs wins the Protector of the Year award. What about Penei Sewell? What about Lane Johnson? What about these guys that are equally as deserving? It's going to cause a lot of people to talk about. And I think that's what the NFL wants, because that's what the NFL is. It's a league that people talk about. And having the Protector of the Year award is only going to add to that. And I really like it. I think it's a really cool idea. I think this is something that is really going to benefit the league. Now, who are some early candidates for this award? Again, Wirfs, Sewell, Johnson, Dickerson, Darisaw, definitely those guys. I can't think of any more offensive linemen. Tunsil, Zach Martin would have won this award like 10 times if this was around when he was in his prime. I can't think of any more offensive linemen off the top of my head. Trent Williams, those kind of guys. Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt. These are the kind of guys there that could win this award. And I think this is a really good idea and a really good job by the NFL to finally recognize offensive linemen, because every position is given something except for offensive linemen, but not anymore. I mean, you have receivers, running backs, tight ends, offensive player of the year. You don't see offensive linemen win that. No one wins that. MVPs, that goes to offensive players pretty much. You have defensive player of the year. You have specialist of the year, coaches of the year, whatever. Now you have an award for an offensive lineman, and I think it's a really good idea. And kudos to the NFL for finally using this. I think it's something that we not desperately need, but something that we definitely need in the NFL. And now for Dog of the Week, you might see some offensive linemen. Maybe, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And that's something that we can definitely see when the season starts. Moreover, to the news part of it, the 49ers made some key extensions. I posted about the Brock Purdy one on Instagram, and I gave my reactions to it. I gave it around a B+, I'm pretty sure. So they extended 3 players. They gave Purdy, Warner, and Kittle all extensions. Warner got 3 for 63, making him the highest paid linebacker. Kittle got 4 for 76.4. Yes, they have to include the 0.4 in their highest paid tight end. Purdy got 5 for 265. That's 53 a year, I'm pretty sure, if I did the math right. And overall, this is something that we usually don't see from the NFL. Yeah, it's 53 a year. This is not something we usually see from the Niners, I should say, not the NFL. The Niners are used to drama in the offseason. Last few years, holdouts. Debo wants to trade. Ayuk wants to trade. That we want new contracts. And those holdouts go deep, and it happens a lot. Nick Bosa was holding out. This team has a lot of holdouts. Not this year. Kittle, Warner, and Purdy, all cornerstone guys, have been extended before really the major camp start. And this is a major thing. It's a major step for John Lynch, because he's used to having to put his back against the wall and sign these guys under duress and say, okay, well, we need to make sure you're playing next year, so we're going to give you your money. We're going to overpay for you now, instead of being stubborn. They got these done really quickly, and very efficiently too. I saw a report that said Purdy wanted north of 60, he wanted 65, which I think is bonkers. There's no, I'm respectfully, I understand betting on yourself. There's no way he wanted 65 million. He is not. We have seen him so many times without Debo, without CMC, without Kittle, without Ayuk, without Jennings, and without a good offensive line. And he struggles. He struggles dearly. It's not like a guy like Brady who's throwing to Walmart cashiers and making it work. Purdy is not that kind of guy. And I think this is something that it's talked about a lot. Him wanting 65 is nuts. Him getting 53, though, is a great, great, great job by John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to get this deal done, lower his asking price by 12 million, or by allegedly 12 million. That's a big step, and especially considering where the quarterback market is going, where we can see Prescott's getting 60 a year, which is a massive overpay. Allen's getting mid-50s. Mahomes getting 50. Those, he's probably going to get more soon. Lamar's getting north of 55. These guys are getting a lot of money. And don't forget, not just the salary, but the cap hit. I mean, these are guys getting north of 70. And these are getting really paid. Him getting 53 and getting, I believe the guarantee, it's a little bit high. It's 180, I'm pretty sure. But I think it's front-loaded, similar to the Daniel Jones contract a few years ago that the Giants signed. So if Purdy plays terribly, then you can get an out. And I think that's something that is not appreciated enough in this contract. You say, oh, it's an overpay. It's not. In terms of where the NFL is going, where you have guys like Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love getting 55, and Purdy's getting 53, that's a great contract. It is a great contract. And saying it's not is just not true. Fred Warner, 3 for 63. I feel like that's an underpay, honestly. I mean, I know the linebacker market's not super, super hot right now, but I feel like anything really is an underpay. I feel like he should probably be getting a little bit more, but still, good contract here for the Niners to finally get that done with Fred Warner. And then Kittle, he was going to hold out, maybe even get traded. The Niners were offered a second-round pick for George Kittle. They said no can do. They ended up extending him for 19.1, if I did the math right. Yeah, because 80 would be 20. So you got 76.4. So he's getting 19.1 a year, which is the highest paid tight end contract in NFL history. So good work by the Niners. I mean, it's almost every year for the last 4 or 5 years where it's like the Niners have something going on. You're like, oh my gosh, just end it already. This is so annoying. Oh, this guy's going to get traded. And then 2 weeks later, he signs a contract. It's like, it's so dumb. Wasting my time. Good job on John Lynch. Kudos to him for getting this done, though, in enough time. Last thing before we end the show today, let's talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. So MHJ, superstar coming out of Ohio State, obviously the son of NFL Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison Sr. He was supposed to be a phenom, and he was okay. He wasn't great. 4th overall pick. Definitely fit what the Cardinals want to do in terms of like the deep threat, like the fun offense. Like he fits that, but he wasn't great last year. Everyone expected a little bit more. He was all right. He's okay. This offseason, though, he looks jacked. I think he's put on 15 pounds of muscle, which is great because he is very thin. And for a receiver in that division, the NFC West is feisty. I mean, if you're going up to Seattle, you're playing either Woolen or Witherspoon. And with the Rams, Jalen Ramsey? Oh, no, he's not even there anymore. Woof, that's a big miss right there. Ramsey's not even there anymore. I think they still have Witherspoon is still there. Durant, like those are guys those are really feisty corners right there. Playing against the Niners, you have not, oh my gosh, who's there? Not Charward anymore, but still, you have really tough corners there in the NFC West, and you can get dominated easily, especially if you have a really small frame, which Harrison had. Not anymore. He came into training camp looking great. I think this dude's a breakout guy. I mean, like this is a true breakout receiver in my opinion. And I'm just looking at the Niners, who their corners are, because I can't think of them off the top of my head who they are. But still, the idea that Lenore, that's who it is. They have Lenore as their corner. Yeah, Lenore was great last year. But this is a really tough division with corners, and I think Harrison's a great breakout candidate. Last year I had breakouts, and I'm not sure. Actually, you know what? We have time on this show. Why don't we look at who I had breaking out last year and see how many I hit on? Because I really believe in what's his name, in Marvin Harrison. I really think that he's got a lot of potential. So offensively, I had Bryce Young, who he was all right. Zamir White did not break out. Wan'Dale Robinson had a great year, in my opinion, for what it's worth. He had a good year. Luke Musgrave I think got hurt. He was okay, I think. Charles Cross was okay, I'm pretty sure, offensively. And then defensively, Colby Turner, Bryce Huff. Colby Turner was good. Bryce Huff got hurt. Ivan Pace was good. Dax Hill was okay. And Brian Branch was fantastic. So definitely, I know kind of what I'm talking about in terms of the breakout. So I really think that Marvin Harrison Jr. could have a breakout season. I'll have some kind of fantasy episode later and down the road at some point during like mock draft season. I really think that Marvin Harrison Jr. can have a great year. I'm really invested in the Cardinals because they had a great offseason. I really think they can have a good year this season. And like last 2 years, you guys didn't know this because at this point I was I think I was streaming on Twitch, but I had the Texans going 10-7 when they were coming off a year where they had the 3rd overall pick or the 2nd overall pick. When they took Stroud, I'm like, this is a team that's going to go 10-7 and make the playoffs. They won 10-7, they made the playoffs. I got that right on the money, and I really think that was a good. I got it. Just saying. So I think I have okay predictions. I'm really invested in the Cardinals this year. That might change down the road, but I think at this point, I really like what they're doing and how they're built. That's how we're going to end the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, follow my Instagram, subscribe if you like this video. If you want to see more of these like longer kind of videos, like the more podcasty videos. I know I've been doing more content creation videos, but I want to try and do more of these just to get videos out for you guys so you can get my takes. Definitely leave a comment. What topics do you want to see? Again, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure you guys are following those. This is Talkin Football. That's what I got to say about that.